Hey, hey, hey! So we are back for another book review. I hope you're not tired of these over here on the show, because I love doing these, and if you love these, then keep watching, because I'm not gonna stop doing book reviews. So today we're gonna talk about the final book. Well, not the final book, but the third book in the Redhead series by Alice Clayton, called The Redhead Plays Her Hand. Alright, now firstly, let's go ahead and read a synopsis. Grace Sheridan is flying high. With scorching passion from her gorgeous Brit superstar Jack Hamilton, plus the lead role in a new television dramedy, she could just pinch herself. Then a demand from her show's directors to drop 15 pounds brings her back down to earth with a thump. Forced to subsist on air, cucumbers, and boot camp, Grace wonders if the body that brings the newly crowned sexiest man alive to his knees is just too bootylicious for Hollywood. Jack, meanwhile, seems overly enamored of the celebrity lifestyle. Forbidden by his publicity-conscious manager to reveal his relationship with Grace, he's hitting the industry party scene way too hard. As Grace's bod incites fiery debate about the message of thin is in, Jack's jealous fans are downing the haterade, viciously slamming her curves. Grace longs for Jack's support, but he's showing up late and disheveled to her most important moments. With tempers between them flaring, Hollywood's most talked-about redhead might have more to lose than a few stubborn pounds. She and Jack were clearly made for each other, but will the day ever come when they can walk the red carpet together, hand in hand? So we know going into this book, I think at the end of the second one, Grace had left New York. Her play, the musical, whatever it was like in a workshopping thing. So it was kind of like, it was on Broadway, which Broadway is for musicals and plays. So I'm like, obviously it's a play, but it didn't get picked up. So it wasn't going to be there for the long term. It was just temporary. Well, her time in New York was over, so she moved back to LA, into her new home that she barely got to live in at all before she had to move to New York. At the end of the second book, they broke up. They split up because Grace felt like she was not good enough because she was older. She felt like because she was older, and I bring up like the older thing just because she's only 33. Like, she's not that old, but he's 24 and she sees him with other 24-year-old or girls around his age, and she deems them more appropriate than her. And she's kind of like, I look so much older than them. She can see, like, she gets drunk at his movie premiere and basically looks in the mirror, and alcohol can do things to your face. It will do things to your face, but it also affects your eyes and your eyesight and how you see things. So her perception was that she really didn't look very good, and she was really ashamed of that. And his ex-girlfriend was there who really put the pressure on her, and she just felt like that this ex-girlfriend looked better with him than she did, and it was kind of a what am I doing kind of a scenario. It didn't help that Michael, her writer of the play that she was in, I can't remember if it was his little girl or if it was his niece, but he had a little girl with him that would come visit him, and it got Grace to thinking about children and whether she really wanted children. And Jack, who is 24 and a rising superstar, has already said that he definitely didn't want kids. And which I think is normal for 24-year-olds. It's whatever. And Grace is like, well, I don't think that I want kids because I've never really thought about it, and I feel like if I wanted kids, I would have given it more thought. But seeing Michael with this little girl, and then she hangs out with Michael's sister, I think her name is Keely, who is pregnant, about to pop, like 7, 8, maybe 9 months pregnant. Like, she's really pregnant and has a little one at home. And she makes the comment of, what are you doing with the 24-year-old? Enjoy it while it lasts. What can he be good for, more than sex, which is extremely derogatory towards men. But I think the point she's making is, what can you possibly have in common besides sex? Like, what can you possibly, like, a 33-year-old woman and a 24-year-old man? But, so she believes that, she's not good enough, so they end up splitting up. And then eventually I don't remember how they get back together, but they do. I think it's at one of her play premieres or something. Anyway, I tried to look it up because I had already taken the book back to the library for the review on this one, and I couldn't remember. But anyway, This one kind of picks up a little bit after that. So they split up. It was like a horrific breakup, but then it actually caused them to be like honest with each other and caused them to have a talk that they needed to have and get things out. And so they did. And so now they're like closer than ever. We start the third book with Jack filming an army movie. Now, one thing that's been through the whole series is how much Grace likes Jack's hair, his curls. Now, he doesn't have like long hair, but he has like flowy curly hair, right? So maybe about here, maybe shoulder length. I don't know. But you know, guys can have some you know, nice hair, and it doesn't have to be like real long. She talks about his curls, and she talks about, you know, she doesn't like him wearing a baseball hat, like, you know, stuff like that. Well, he's filming an army movie and he has to portray a soldier. So we start out with her having to basically cut his hair and shave his head because he doesn't want to go to a salon, because if he goes to a salon or a barbershop and gets it done, because he's such a big star, which he is. And I only use this because it's like, you know, he's a rising star, and it'll be all over the news, and then basically they'll know like what he's doing, stuff like that. And you know, I can kind of understand. And this, I have to say, this series really kind of makes you look at celebrities a little bit differently. It's kind of like what really is contrived, what's real, and what's, you know, I don't want to say scripted, but what is scheduled to happen. You know, you see people together at movie premieres or at award shows, and it's kind of like, are they really there together? Or are they just there together, you know, for appearances? I mean, I think that's been a thing for a long time, whether, you know, it's a showbiz relationship or it's a real relationship. But anyway, so he happened to cut his hair. So he's off in Las Vegas filming this war movie, and Grace is trying to find her feet again in Los Angeles. They find out that the show gets picked up for a TV show. So they want to produce it on TV. Well, you know, as it said, like, they want her to lose 15 pounds because the camera adds 10 pounds. Apparently she's just too fat, just too chunky. They do later on in the book say that she is probably a size 6. I think a size 8 or a size 6, or maybe even a size 4. And that most women in Hollywood are a size 2 or a size 0. And I think it's an important point to bring up because that's not that big. You know, it's like, is that plus size? I don't know, maybe in fashion by fashion standards, but Marilyn Monroe was a 10-12, you know, and she's viewed universally as a sex symbol icon, you know. And so I think that kind of says a lot. And she gets frustrated with it, and so she kind of starts to fight back. And as somebody who has struggled with her weight, I've always been on the heavier side, and you know, I did lose a massive amount of weight previously in my life, and it's amazing how differently people treat you when you lose a bunch of weight, and how instantly you get the comments, oh, you look so good. And it's like, oh, as opposed to what? As opposed to what? It's like, I'm still the same person. There's just less of me. So obviously I'm not as small as Grace, and getting even smaller, but I will say that the interaction between her and Jack basically telling her, you know, he basically feels her hip bones, and he's like, I don't like this. There's not as much cushion there for me. I like, you know, you need to eat like I like you. Basically, I like you a little chunkier. And I do think if more men stood up and said that, then maybe that wouldn't be such an issue in Hollywood. And I understand that the camera adds 10 pounds. You know, so what? What's wrong with 10 pounds? But there's that. She's filming her TV show. They're, again, separated for most of the book. He begins to hang out with one of his co-stars he was a past, basically Jack replaced him as the new it boy in Hollywood. And so they're going out and they're drinking all the time, and they're doing this, they're doing that, and eventually it comes out that this guy has gotten Jack into some drugs and gotten him into cocaine. And it all comes to a head, and Grace finally has enough of it when they had split up. She's like, I can't do this anymore, and he's like, I don't want to hear it, whatever. And he goes and gets kicked out of a bar because he got in a fight and actually ended up in the hospital. And you know, she goes to him, she runs to Vegas, not runs, but you know what I mean, and you know, is by his side, and he's like, why are you here? And she's like, why wouldn't I be here? And he finally kind of wakes up and is just like, yeah, because she told him all this time that this guy, Adam, she's like, he's a bad influence. Like, you don't need to be hanging out with him. His publicist, his manager told him the same thing. He's going to get you into trouble. He's ruining your reputation. You know, you're the new it boy. He's kind of, and the way I thought about it too was like, he's piggybacking off of you. He knows that wherever you are, he's going to get pictures taken. So he's going to try to be wherever you are so that he can be in the spotlight too. Jack kind of wakes up and realizes that he screwed up and apologizes to her. And, you know, during this time, Grace, her show has kind of taken off. People love it. It's not everybody loves it, but overall it's a hit. And she's becoming famous in her own right. And people are finally like talking about her, not just her as Jack Hamilton's girlfriend or, you know, the mysterious redhead or whatever, but they're talking about her in her own right. And I think that that's an incredible part of the story. I will say that we end the book. They go from, like, in the beginning, you know, they're kind of trying to fight the paparazzi and all this stuff. And at the end, they're kind of adjusting a little bit more to it. And they know what they can and can't do. And it must be really hard, you know, when every little thing that you do, you buy, you say, the way you look when you head out the door, like any looks you give anybody can be all over the news. And that must be incredibly hard to be in that much in the spotlight. But they end this with, they get back together, and then he's like, do you want to take a trip? So they're on a beach, and they're, you know, doing some couple things, and they hear paparazzi approach, which they can, like, apparently they can't fly overhead, but they can hear the boat driving up. So they know that the paparazzi are coming. Like, basically, they can hear them coming. All right. So Grace, who was topless, she quickly, you know, tied her bikini top up, and they go to get back in their house or the hut or whatever it is that they were in. And Jack held back a little bit, and she goes, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm writing a message in the sand. And she's like, what's the message? And he's like, I want you to come down here and see it. And he writes, will you marry me? He writes, like, marry me. And it's so sweet and beautiful and romantic. And of course she says yes. She writes yes in the sand. And that's the way the book ends. And so Alice Clayton, if you ever watch this, you better do a fourth. Because I think I can speak for all of us who like this series. We need another book. This book, as compared to the previous two, the first one I really liked. The second one was meh. This one I actually really liked. It was, you know, a lot of emphasis on her and her weight, but it was emphasis of, why is Hollywood requiring this of her? Like, why is it like that? Why can't I just be a size 6? Why is that considered too fat to be on TV? Grace actually overheard her director of the TV show or producer or something like that saying that he, you know, has a stubborn actress who can't do something as simple as lose 15 pounds. And she does eventually lose the weight, and then she gains 16 pounds. So, or no, she gains like 33 pounds. So she gained some additional weight on top of it. And, you know, she was just eating like cucumbers. She was, you know, just, there's an evolution in the beginning of the story from her like dieting like that, severe dieting, to she realizes that like her old self, she would have, when she was sad, she would have sat and like pigged out on something and like watched TV. And she goes, now I can deal with it in a healthy way. You know, I can go and, you know, do yoga, and I can eat something that actually fuels my body and go and do yoga or go running. And, you know, you treat your body in a healthy way, which is not either one of the extremes, which is not overeating, which is not undereating. And I think that that's important. I think a lot of young women need to understand that, and young men too, because that affects them as well. But I really enjoyed this book. I really, really enjoyed this book. I want another one. I don't know if she's going to write another one. I don't know if this is it. I don't know if there's going to be a spin-off series. I don't know. But I really hope that there's another one. But I'm going to give this one, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely. Really, really loved this novel. Love these two. You know, I don't know where they could take it in a fourth one, honestly. But that's not really my job now, is it? So I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this book. If you've ever read this book, this series, what you think about it. If you know that there's been a fourth book or is going to be a fourth book, or where I can find that information, because I've been looking. And maybe I just haven't been looking hard enough. Maybe I haven't looked in the right places, but yeah. So that's my thoughts on this. So don't forget to go follow me over on the Instagram. Like this video if you like this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring that bell icon to get notified whenever I upload a new video, because you never know what kind of content's going to pop up over here on this channel. I thank you all so much for watching. I love you all very, very much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!